Well, we're like in late stage capitalism. The world's on fire right now. Women are losing their fundamental rights, at least in my country, left and right. We still don't make equal pay on the dollar. That is why we want to replace the patriarchy, which is very top down, into a more communal, democratic way of living, which is the matriarchy. And back when we had matriarchies, it was more democratic. Crete, the famous island of Crete, had a matriarchy where they didn't go to war, and then everything was communal. So I don't really see a downside of this. I mean, right now...
So you think, just to be clear, you think if women ran the world, there'd be no warfare?
I think that we have different ways of dealing with conflict than men do. And if it was a majority female-led environment, we would not be in a lot of these circumstances.
Really?
I mean, even
you think women never engage in conflict? Is that a joke?
So, folks, Piers Morgan brought on this panel of feminists yesterday to debate the Barbie movie. Now, for the record, I know there's a whole political discourse over Barbie. Is it woke? Is it secretly conservative? You will never get that review from me because I have not seen the movie and will not because I don't know. I'm not a woman. Frankly, I don't know why so many conservative men are seeing the movie in the first place. It's kind of strange. But anyways, I have seen this debate panel, and I mean, just take a look, right? They bring on this group of feminists, and it quickly devolves into some of the most unhinged nonsense I have heard, frankly, since the year 2016. One of these feminists on this panel will call for a matriarchy, and she basically straight up says that if women ran the world, we would never have wars or conflict. Because apparently women never fight with each other or have conflict, right? And so, you know, you kind of get an idea. We're here to react to it. It goes totally off the rails, okay? Now, first and foremost, what I will say about this girl, as you can tell, you're probably expecting this to be one of the craziest feminists on the panel. Shockingly, she's actually the most sane and rational one. She's the only one with a lick of common sense actually on the entire panel, which tells you a lot about, you know, what we're gonna watch, because you would certainly expect this to be one of the feminists. But anyways, let's get right into this, okay? Here's the debate about Barbie. We'll let her talk first. She's actually rational, but stick around because it gets very ridiculous very quickly, but check it out.
For the Sun and the New York Post, actually, same column. Just because I feel, when I hear the word patriarchy, as often as it's said in this movie, immediately I'm like, here we go again. Yeah. Here we go again, this sort of construct that, despite everything that's happened in the last 50 years, all men are awful till they prove otherwise, all women are downtrodden, oppressed, and if only it wasn't for ghastly men, they'd be ruling the world. You know, Lily Allen said she went to see Barbie and Oppenheimer, and the clear conclusion was if women were in charge, none of that would have happened, right? I mean, it is exhausting to me.
I mean, I suspected this would happen when we started having a conversation about whether Barbie's a feminist icon. And I just thought to myself, why does Barbie need to be a feminist icon? Anyone who's grown up with Barbies knows that she's just a doll that girls like to play with. And then 10 seconds into the film, I'm just being shoehorned with this ideology, this, you know, patriarchy this and feminism that, and I'm just thinking it's a giant catfish of a film. It's like going on a date wanting to see J-Lo and then, I don't know, at the other end you see someone like Lizzo, for instance. It's completely unnecessary. Why can't we just have a film about dolls? The people that made this film have never seen any of the other Barbie animated films because it's completely unrelated. It's a giant catfish. And I just think,
and all the kids.
What did I say, right, folks? You expected her just the way she's dressed. You were like, that's gonna be the feminist, right? No, she's the sane one. You're about to see the feminist in a second.
No offense, Chris. We're going to come to you in a moment. All the kids
are dumb.
They're such dumb dweebs. I mean, it's like they've come off a set of Love Island or something.
But this is the problem. They're so incompetent. And it's like, how can... And at the end of the film, they try and say, oh, but we're all humans and we're all equal. OK, but you've painted half of humanity as incompetent half-wits. So exactly how does that work?
Monica, you represent the matriarchy, which is another sounding word.
Here we go, guys.
It seems to me
So you heard her. I mean, like I said, I haven't seen the movie. She seems to make sense to me. Here's the part where I'm really getting to, okay?
The movie really
Listen
wants
to this woman.
Is just replace the patriarchy with the matriarchy. In other words, go from one thing which every woman apparently believes is the problem with the world and flip it round so that the people who suffer the problem and the oppression and are made to look like downtrodden imbeciles are men, not women. I don't really get that. Why is it so awful, this patriarchy syndrome? Why replace the P with an M?
Well, we're like in late stage capitalism. The world's on fire right now. Women are losing their fundamental rights, at least in my country.
So yeah, I mean, okay. She's the director of Matriarch. She openly calls for matriarchy, and then just look at those glasses. Look at those glasses. Total feminist cat lady. So keep that in mind. And then she says we're in late stage capitalism, and listen to what she says next here, okay?
Right, we still don't make equal pay on the dollar.
True.
We're doing emotional labor. We're doing
That's a
physical
myth.
labor. As the beautiful America Ferrera just said in she had a moment in her long speech. That is why we want to replace the patriarchy, which is very top down, into a more communal, democratic way of living, which is the matriarchy. And back when we had matriarchies, it was more democratic. Crete, the famous island of Crete, had a matriarchy where
wait. Okay, so listen to this very carefully. So she says, back when we had matriarchies, everything was perfect. And she's going to cite this civilization called Crete. And we'll talk about that in a second, but I talked over it. So let me play it for you.
Democratic way of living, which is the matriarchy. And back when we had matriarchies, it was more democratic. Crete, the famous island of Crete, had a matriarchy where they didn't go to war. And then everything was communal. So I don't really see a downside of this. Right now...
So you think, just to be clear, you think if women ran the world, there'd be no warfare?
Exactly.
I think that we have different ways of dealing with conflict than men do. And if it was a majority female-led environment, we would not be in a lot of these circumstances.
Really?
Okay, so you guys got that? Apparently, if women were in charge of the world, you would never have conflict. Because never in the history of ever have women started conflicts, especially with each other. Never do they especially start conflicts for petty, emotional, and irrational reasons. This, of course, never happens. Women are actually always sane and rational, which is why, of course, if women ran the world, everything would be a utopia and you never have conflict. And you never have war, apparently. Well, let's actually talk about the specific example. So she cites the island of Crete as her example as to why matriarchy is such a great thing. And I had to kind of research this a little bit. But basically, what she's talking about is the ancient island of Crete, the Minoan civilization. Okay, so this is back in the Bronze Age, a very, very long time ago. They believe, possibly, that this island was matriarchal. Now, the first thing I will say is that that's not really necessarily historically proven. Right? I'm reading here from an article published by University of Kansas, and their kind of reason why they think that this civilization in 1600 BC was a matriarchy was because they look at the artwork. And for instance here, right, for example, in the artwork, women are always clothed while men may be nude, and paintings depict women in elaborate court-style dresses. And so they basically kind of look at the way women were drawn and kind of think women were in charge of the society. Now, for the record, they've never been able to decipher the actual Minoan language, so they don't know. They just see these drawings, they see the way women are drawn, and they think it was a matriarchy. So that's what I'll say first and foremost. You don't know if Crete was a matriarchy, much less the type of matriarchy you would want. But let's for a moment assume that it is true. Let's assume Minoa and the ancient Crete civilization was a matriarchy. Well, here is the most telling part of the entire thing, right? Here you go, right here. And of course, remember, not only do they say it was perfect, they say no wars were ever fought. Well, here you go right here. The Mycenaean culture of the mainland. So this is the mainland Greece that you kind of know from history class, right? The Mycenaean culture of the mainland eventually conquered the Minoan culture on the islands. But here's what's further. Professor Younger is researching another theory that the matriarchal Minoan society experienced a revolt either before or in anticipation of the Mycenaean takeover. So what are they basically saying here, right? Assuming, again, we have the first matriarchal society and the only matriarchal society she can name ever, what happened to this matriarchy was either that it was conquered by the mainland Greeks, aka conquered by men, conquered by a patriarchy, or domestically, it was overthrown by men, aka a patriarchy, right? So her shining example of matriarchal utopia, first and foremost, dates back to the Bronze Age. That is so long ago, right? That is before even the classical ancient civilizations that you learned about in history class, right? That's the Iron Age. So before that, we're talking very, very ancient. That's the only matriarchy, I should say, that she can name. And on top of that, this matriarchy was so weak that it was wiped out. It was wiped out so badly, you've barely ever heard of it. We don't even know the language, and it totally collapsed and was conquered and annihilated. Sounds about right. Actually, that sounds about right to me. That sounds about exactly what would happen in a matriarchy. Yes, it would get conquered. Yes, it would fall apart and be destroyed by patriarchy. Of course it would. So just wanted to point that out. That's her example of the matriarchal utopia. This is the civilization who, first of all, like I said, dates all the way back to the Bronze Age. That's a very, very long time ago, even longer ago than you think. And also got wiped out by patriarchy. So, there you go. And of course, let's remember, she said that, the Crete never fought wars. Well, you have it right there. They were either conquered or fell victim to civil war and revolution, aka they still fought wars. And guess what happened? The matriarchy, right, lost those wars. Tells you a lot. But let's continue here.
I mean,
You think women never engage in conflict? Is that a joke?
I say we engage in conflict.
Yes.
Everybody engages in conflict. We're humans, but we don't engage in conflict the same way. And I think this was satire. It was art. I'm sorry if some people wanted it to be a kids' movie, but the best art, whether it's The Wizard of Oz or Barbie, is really a reflection of the times, is a reflection of the struggles. And frankly, I don't know. You said that you've never seen a movie like this. When I saw that Marilyn Monroe movie, who was a complicated, beautiful artist, genius, they made her out to be it was despicable. It was an assault on women. So how about most movies out there do make women feel uncomfortable? And my God, it's art. Have a sense of humor. There was satire. It was attacks on capitalism, climate change, warfare. It was fun. It was layered. Right. It was complicated, like women.
Before I bring in Ken, let me just bring in Grace. I know you're not.
It was complicated like women. That she did say something true there. Folks, what do you think? Do you want this woman in charge of the matriarchy? Should we put this woman in charge of the world? I think that'd be a fantastic idea. Fantastic. No fluorides there. She's definitely not psycho. And she definitely would be a very stable leader. And I think if you question that, then you are probably a sexist bigot, I'd have to imagine. All right, let's continue.
To the whole Barbie thing particularly, but patriarchy you're definitely into, right?
Yeah.
You do
I'm
think...
so into it. I'm so into patriarchy.
No, but are you? I mean, does the patriarchy really exist?
An obvious end point of the very successful attempt that we've had within most capitalist societies for liberal elites to basically take over and commodify the feminist critique, which was a critique of capitalism. This is a massive box office, hitting movie made by a huge multinational corporation that's going to make loads and loads of money, that also uses exploitative labor practices all around the world. The problem is, it's not like there was Ariana Huffington famously said the financial crisis wouldn't have happened if it had been Lehman Sisters instead of Lehman Brothers. That's obviously completely wrong. I personally don't even buy the idea that there are these huge insurmountable differences between men and women. The problem is capitalism. That's why we have gender inequality. That's why we have racial inequality. That's why we have all these different forms of inequality. And unless we get that fixed by taking down big corporations like Mattel, everything's going to stay the same.
That's fine. I have no problem with you believing that. That's fine.
I'm glad that you have no problem with me believing that. I'm glad we agree that I have the right to believe what I believe.
Can we just leave Barbie out of it?
Well, this panel, of course, is making a strong case, of course, for matriarchy, certainly. What is she even talking about? Oh, it's the fault of capitalism. And there's a point in that she makes that's kind of valid and actually I agree with, which is sort of that, well, unrestricted, right? Capitalism will kind of devolve into consumerism and just selling nonsense to people. And I guess that kind of is a point I understand that she's trying to make. But overall, what does capitalism, of all things, have to do with gender and racial inequality, right? Capitalism is just a market system, that's all there. I don't even know what she's talking about. She doesn't even know what she's talking about. She clearly goes in with an agenda because she wants to say blah, 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 capitalism. Okay, fine. She didn't really address the movie. I don't know what that has to do with any of this discussion, but it seems to me that she just wants to talk about herself and talk about what she wanted to talk about. I don't understand the critique she's making there. It's kind of misses there. But yeah, folks, that's this. You can go watch the full thing for yourself. I just wanted to play that little clip. That is the Piers Morgan Barbie debate panel with feminists. So what do you think at the end of that, folks? Are you pro matriarchy? Do you think these women should be in charge of the world and important decisions? Let me know in the comment section down below. But yeah, and until next time, folks, right? Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Be sure to sign up for our free exclusive email list, okay? The newsletter. We have a announcement actually coming soon on there at thevincedao.tv.com. That is thevincedao.tv.com. Go sign up. Do me a favor there. And yeah, until next time, folks, Alpha Moves Only. God bless. Everyone have a very good day. Don't see the Barbie movie. If you're a man, especially, I don't get why. Don't bother. This tells me all I need to know about the movie. Okay, and peace. Hey guys, Vince Dao here. Hope you enjoyed that clip from the Vince Dao Show. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new to the channel. And be sure to check out the Vince Dao Show live every weeknight here on this channel at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. God bless.